Scott,
Here.
Claire,
I'm here. I'm recovering from COVID. I'm just not up to being there.
okay, so Anne,
Yes,
Is-
I'm here. I am positive for COVID and I am isolating at this time.
so both of you are under 2449.
Do we have to vote on that?
I think we only vote if they've exceeded their
Right.
number of,
Right, it exceeded the 3.
and I don't know if that's happened or not.
No, I think Claire's at 2 and Anne's at either 2 or 3, but I don't remember which.
I might be at a 3.
Oh, you're at 3?
You
I
want
might
to,
be. Maybe we should vote.
I move that we vote to accept the attendance of Ann and Claire as voting members at this meeting.
Second,
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe we should vote.
yes,
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Anne? Anne?
Ann or Dan?
Dan?
Yes.
Claire?
Yes.
Anne? Was muted.
Doesn't matter. We don't need her.
Okay.
Yes, we do.
We don't
Ann,
need
Yeah,
her
but
vote.
she's,
We don't
wait
need
a
her
minute.
vote for this. We don't need her vote for this. That's what I'm saying.
She's a
But
yes.
she's attending.
Yeah, she is. But I mean, just sort of dubious to vote on your own attendance vote, right?
No,
Okay, great. So here we are. Great, so we have a vote. Everybody
um,
attending.
By the way,
everybody's
I don't
voting.
remember you calling Dan for attendance, so obviously I'm here.
Oh, God, Dan, I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Do we have to vote on allowing Dan to attend?
First come,
Okay, great. Let's keep moving. All right, first, Board of Supervisors reports. Marisol, take it away.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yep, we're good.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everybody. I'm Marisol with Supervisor Ray Miller's office. I just wanted to reiterate that since it's an item on the agenda, that the Office of the Supervisor can support in posting if you have a flyer or any on social media with respect to the recruiting of members. And that's just reiterating from what we said last time. And then also an update on the fact that I believe you may have been waiting for a letter from county with respect to the tax ID number. That is coming to you soon. It's already been elevated to the deputy controller. So county's just double checking on things. And hopefully you get an answer quickly, sooner rather than later. And Quarry Park went well, and then basically I have no more updates. But if you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to take them.
Okay, so first, do we have any questions from the council or Marisol?
Let me throw one out.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
So when do you think the work on Marauder Road is going to finish?
Okay, I'll have to check on that with respect to the timeline.
Okay.
Awesome. Any other questions from the council? If not, any questions from the public for Marisol? Going once?
yeah, I have a question. Marisol, you mentioned that the recruiting flyer.
Yeah.
What was, we already have that or?
Well, if you guys have like a recruiting flyer for your membership or maybe like a post or something, the supervisor would be happy to share that and see if we can help get it posted on some kind of social media.
Okay,
Great. He's willing to help out.
So
Yeah.
nobody was able to see the one I put in email.
I didn't see it, but
Okay.
I wasn't looking as carefully.
Okay.
Well, once again, I can post it on Nextdoor
Mhm.
and we can post a thing on the blog. The problem is we have 2 events coming up right after this meeting. We're going to be featuring the October 29th event on healthcare. And right after that, there's another one that Lisa already put on the blog. So it won't be until just after the election, I think, before we'll have it posted and it'll be the top billing.
Okay. Okay, that's all right. Okay, any other questions from Marisol? Going once, going twice. Okay, great. Then on we go to reports from any other government officials. I see we have Harvey. Harvey, got anything for us?
Briefly, yeah. At the last city council meeting, we approved in principle the capital improvement program that Sam, Sewer Authority, Midcoast side, has promulgated. It's $18 million when the target was 13 million over the next 5 years, but we still said that it's really important. And I just want to reiterate what Greg just said. On October 29th at 6 o'clock at the Oceana Hotel, we're going to have a coast-side conversation about healthcare. You can attend in person. It's going to be on PCT if you want to see it after the fact. You can Zoom in if you can't make it in person. But we're really trying to get as many people from the coast side who are interested in healthcare and what we can do to improve it on the coast side to attend either virtually or in person. It's October 29th, 6 o'clock, Oceana Hotel. That's all I got. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Questions from the council for Harvey? Anyone? Claire?
Thank you, Harvey. I just wanted to add that there's a survey involved with this project. And if they go to there'll be various places to get the survey. It's important that you take the survey. We've already got quite a number of responses. We'd like to get a large number so that we could actually use it for planning as the county continues to make its decisions. So.
Good point.
Thanks, Claire. Greg?
Is that survey on the flyer that I just posted for you, Claire, or
Yes.
do we? Okay,
If you wanted to post it, if you wanted to show it right now, it has a QR code. Or if you could put it in the chat, it has a QR code that you can use to take the survey.
all right, I'll do that now.
Thank you.
Cool. Awesome. Any other council questions for Harvey? No? Okay, any questions from the public for Harvey? No? Okay, great. Thank you so much, Harvey.
You're welcome.
I think that's it for government officials, which then pushes us on to council follow-up reports, recruiting. Greg.
So Dan and I hosted a table at the event at Quarry Park hosted by County Parks. And we're just getting the word out as well as whatever we can do to help other groups, family daycare, whatever. I was just telling them, come see us if we could help them build consensus or something. We got Natalie Downs' attention. She's been a frequent and very what's the word, educated commentator on a number of environmental issues here. She and her husband just got their citizenship a few months ago. So they're now registered voters. And so I bent her ear about running and she agreed to consider it. So I'll follow up and I encourage anybody else who knows Natalie to follow up. Scott, did we have another fellow also? I'm trying to remember, or was that here? There was a guy that showed up here. Did we have a third fellow? I'm trying to remember, but we just need to keep up letting people know. And Gus, let me know if that window card things work. We should do that. We should print up. The idea is we print up little cards and stick them in car windows at parking lots.
Okay.
Saying, did you know the MCC needs people to run?
Yeah. Did you know we existed? So would you be interested?
So look for the attachment on my email too. There's a flyer on there.
Hmm.
See if you can see it. It's a recruitment flyer.
Your email on what?
On one before I left to Croatia. I said, hey, this is I won't be here. And here's three.
Oh, I did see what
things.
your daughter did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we can print
not
that.
post that?
We should get it posted, it sounds like.
Yeah, post it, or I can print it if you want.
I will, if you remind me, by text or otherwise, after the meeting, I will make sure I post that when I post the next recruiting thing.
Okay.
We have posted it on July 20th. It doesn't look like we had a flyer on it. So just remind me after the meeting.
Okay.
Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Greg, for leading on that. Okay, that's it for council follow-up reports unless anybody else has anything. I know, but great. And let's go on to public comments, for on items not on the agenda. I know Len has one, so why don't I call on you first and then we'll see what else we got.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to give a quick update on the status of the multi-asset project for Highway 1. As most of you know, there was an appeal submitted by Catherine Slater Carter, supported by myself as citizens. And we have been over the last 2 or 3 weeks in touch with coastal staff who are the ones who have taken over the considerations here. The commission has decided that it does have merit, so it's in a review process called the de novo review. Basically, staff went to Caltrans and asked them to produce a study to look at the situation. And so recently they provided us with a copy of the report authored by Caltrans. It's about 64 pages long. It's called a bicycle lane safety study. And it defines actually a much larger environment, I guess, than just the Surfers Beach area where we focused on. I had asked whether we could bring it forward and have it on the website for this meeting, but I haven't heard from them. I know that Chanda Singh, who was with the county, has probably been a party and seen it. And I would imagine the MCC could directly request of the staff whether they could see that. And I expect we'll have more on that later. But basically, it's sort of the stepping stone to bring the whole matter forward to the commission. And the staff believes it's likely to go to the commission in December. So that's the overall background there. And I think Catherine then wanted to add other things.
Okay,
Yes,
great.
if I may.
Go ahead, Catherine.
Thank you. Len has done a fabulous job putting together maps and graphics and stakeholders. Caltrans seems to have missed quite a few of the stakeholders. For instance, it's talking about getting rid of all of the off-street parking between Coronado and Capistrano, which will take away beach access for the public. And that's one of the fundamental rights and title that has been given to the public by the Coastal Act and the Coastal Initiative. And so I'm looking for somebody who maybe can help me, or I'll just smash one together. I don't know, I'm not a computer person, but that's neither here nor there. I'll attempt anything to put together a petition and comments from the public to talk about this. I have been talking to a lot of people over this last, it's been 8-9 months, and no, 10 months since I started working on that proposal. And I've talked to people about it and they'll go, well, where will we park? Where is the beach access? And I've heard various reports from Caltrans, like maybe in Princeton, or maybe up in the residential area in El Granada. And these are not going to be equivalent for distance or for people who have special needs who still want to get to and enjoy the beach. So I'm going to be putting that on Nextdoor, and I'm going to be presenting it to the council. But I just want people to be thinking about how we would access Surfers Beach. The Harbor District has lots of parking, and it's all under funding requirements that say it can only be used by people accessing the harbor. So, if you want to go to the harbor and do that, we've got lots of parking. But for general beach and coastal act parking, it's important that we maintain it. We've lost a lot due to erosion, and a lot just due to growth of things. And so I think it's the state's requirement, is the state's responsibility, and Caltrans is function of the state, to keep the Coastal Act intact and to keep the coast available for citizens from of the whole state of California and all the visitors who come here too. This is an important part of our culture. I've been here 45 years or more, and it's always been used for parking since I've been going up and down the coast. Anyway, thank you for your time, and Marisol, I'd like to get a hold of you. I'll call you next week, because I want to fill you in on this, and hopefully we can get Supervisor Mueller's support on it.
Thank you, Catherine. Okay, do we have any other comments on items not on the agenda? Anyone? Going once, going twice. Awesome, then on we go to the first, first to consent. What was all thing we have on consent today? Yes, Kimberly.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
The Dark Skies letter that was posted was the version that we considered last time.
Oh.
And the final version was not for some reason posted.
Oh.
Does that make a difference? I would prefer to vote on the final version of the letter and not the.
Yeah, we should definitely run on the version of the letter. But let's see, but we did the final version. The final version was viewable for the public last time, right?
No,
No.
We made a slight change to the letter.
Oh.
Which was agreed upon.
Which is agreed upon in the public meeting.
Correct.
Correct, okay. Then
I just thought maybe the public should see the final version.
Well, we should definitely post the final
So
version.
let
For
me
sure.
see what, I think Lisa posted it.
And when I looked last, it was not the final version, but maybe it was switched.
Somebody check
Hold
that.
on, let me share my screen.
Pretty insignificant change, so it
Lisa-
was just added.
Lisa's waving on the screen,
All right, Lisa, go for it.
but she's muted. There you go.
Currently posted as the latest version, the final version that Kimberly sent me. If you're seeing the older, that's it. If you're seeing the older one, just hit refresh. But that's
Got
what
it.
you're showing now. That's the final one that Kimberly sent me.
It is up there, it's not an
Okay.
issue.
Awesome.
All right.
So I mean,
And the change was these links. What was the change?
Page
It was-
2, the link on the food service.
This one.
Third, yeah.
Um,
I moved that
Sorry.
we have consent
I'm
agenda.
afraid I can't agree. The spacing is off on the last two paragraphs.
I
Yes,
have
Kimberly.
one other question.
Yes.
Do we need to revote on, do I need to make a motion to revote on the minutes that we voted on last time? Does that-
Yeah, yes. Let's just be fully buttoned.
Do that separately from the consent calendar?
No, it's on the consent agenda to approve the minutes from October 9th, which is the one you wanted us to revote on.
No, those
No,
are the
that's-
new
no,
minutes.
Last time we voted on minutes. Yes.
Okay.
What is this, July something, right?
July 10th,
July
yes.
10th. Okay, so why don't you make a motion that we add July 10th to the
Okay,
consent calendar?
I move that we add the July 10th minutes to the consent agenda for a vote this
I
evening.
second.
Great. Can really vote for that. Call the vote, please.
Yes. Greg,
Yes.
Gus.
Yes.
Scott.
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Claire is muted.
She's doing, she.
Yes. Yes.
Anne,
Yes.
great, passes. Thank you.
Great. Now, love to entertain a motion to approve the full.
I move we approve the consent agenda as amended.
Great,
Second,
awesome. Any discussion? Great, Kimberly?
Greg,
Yes.
Gus.
Yes.
Dan,
yes,
Scott,
Yes.
Claire,
Yes.
Anne.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Fantastic. Right, appreciate everybody's efficiency with that. All right, that gets us on to the regular agenda. First topic on the regular agenda is an update on the transportation demand management plan for the coast side. And I will turn it over to Chanda Singh and her team.
Did somebody make Sean a co-host?
Oh, actually, can you make Alex Mercury co-host? He's gonna share a screen.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks.
That's all right. Thank you. Good
Yeah.
evening, everybody. I'm Chanda Singh. I'm a senior transportation planner with the San Mateo County Planning and Building Department. And I'm really pleased to be here tonight with Alex Mercury from Nelson Nygaard and Associates, who is supporting the development of a transportation demand management plan for the city of Half Moon Bay and the unincorporated Midcoast. We've been working on this plan since mid-2023, and we're really excited to share the public draft with a preview, I guess, of the public draft, which is out now, and talk more about what else might be needed, and ask for your help in promoting the plan to coastside residents for feedback. So with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Alex to present on the plan.
Great. Thanks, Chanda. So I will try and go ahead and share here. Can you all hear me okay? Yes.
Yep, sure.
Yes.
Yep.
Excellent. All right. Let's see. That should be that. Okay. Can folks see the screen?
Yep.
Great. All right. Well, thank you so much for inviting us tonight. It's great to be here, and thanks for taking some time to talk about this project and this plan. We're happy to share some updates and, as Chanda said, talk about some opportunities to weigh in and gather feedback from the community. So I'm going to run through a presentation here. I'll try to go relatively quickly so we have some time to talk or answer questions or just share some information depending on what's on the front of mind for you all. So stop me if I'm going too fast. Feel free to jump in and interrupt. Otherwise, I'll get to the end and we can chat. So I'll dive right in then. A little bit of background on the project first. This is a transportation demand management plan, or a TDM plan, which I'll try to minimize acronyms tonight. That one might come up a lot. So TDM is transportation demand management, and it's a plan that's focused on the city of Half Moon Bay and San Mateo County unincorporated Midcoast areas. And it's funded through the TA. And for folks who are not familiar with TDM, or transportation demand management, it's a broad term that refers to programs and policies that aim to make things safer, easier, and more accessible to get around, and more affordable to get around without driving alone. So rather than a lot of the kind of physical things like built roadways and things like that impact transportation, it's a lot more of the kind of programmatic things. So services like transit service, but also how we manage things like parking, how we provide incentives or discounts or things to encourage people or reward people for different types of travel, and how we just provide information so folks know what options are available and can make whatever decisions they choose about how to get around. So it's kind of a everything in the kitchen sink kind of way to approach transportation, and excited to share a lot of those everything in the kitchen sink items with you today. A few of the benefits, again, it casts kind of a wide net, but generally it helps ease traffic by making a lot of the transportation modes more efficient and making some alternative to driving a little bit more appealing or easy to access. By doing so, it can help reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And generally, a big benefit is just providing more choices. So it's meant to broaden the options available for getting around, and as such can help lower transportation costs for folks by making different options available or more accessible. Why is this relevant to the Midcoast and the coast side? So it is aiming to achieve a few general goals. So reducing the high rates of driving on the roadways, not only folks who live and work in the area, but also folks who may be visiting for a day or a weekend or a longer trip. It helps support and complement some of the more built infrastructure. So again, this plan doesn't really focus on recommendations for what to build, but it does include programs that can help make those things that are built more effective or help achieve the goals for those things more completely. So it's a great complement to make things that are already there or that are coming in the future work well for y'all. It can help kind of customize programs that exist to meet some of the unique needs in the community. So there's a lot of things that are available that are managed at the regional level, and it helps to have programs locally that make sure that the specific folks in the community have the information they need and that the service is really designed to meet their unique needs. And lastly, it can help adapt some regional requirements to the local context. So some development regulations, some sort of behind the scenes regulations that guide development can have an additional layer of management at the local level. So very high level, some of the things we've done so far, we've done a lot of existing conditions work to look at all the planning that's come before us. We've looked at what are the gaps that those plans identify, what are some different things that data can tell us about where people are getting to and from. We've looked at some best practices for TDM, so what have other communities done that's effective or that can give us some ideas about what might work here. We've gathered a lot of community input over the past year and a half, almost 2 years. So a few different rounds of events, talking with folks through some pop-up events, a little bit of surveying, some focus groups, and a lot of information relayed by different community-based organizations about what they're hearing from their constituents. And we've also done a ton of collaboration with local and regional partners, so people like Samtrans, Commute.org, some of the other folks that do this type of work. Been trying to talk to them to understand what are the opportunities to make the things they're doing work well for the coast side. And of course, you all here tonight. All that bundled up together is in the draft plan, which again is out for public comment. So I'll share some information about where to find that and how it fits into our timeline. But generally, again, this is kind of building on a lot of work that we've been doing, drafting strategies, looking at the data, looking at the gaps, and trying to tie it all together into a plan that we hope to put up for to be adopted in Q1 of next year. So real quick summary of the findings. This is coming out of, again, our gap analysis. Driving is the typical way to get around in the coast side. We see this in the data. We heard this from the people we talked to. So being aware of how that travel mode is the dominant choice for people today, but also recognizing that there are other alternatives that folks have access to, but they're more limited. There's maybe less programs to support them, less awareness, less access to those services or those options for a variety of reasons. There may be barriers, whether that's language or geographical or technological, that make it difficult to access some of those modes. And that those gaps particularly are barriers for folks in equity priority areas. So people have different levels of access to the modes that do exist depending on where they live. We also heard a lot about tourist-related traffic and the congestion that creates and safety challenges for different kinds of users. We heard about limited parking management in a comprehensive way, so lots of little challenges and perhaps a need to do something a little bit more holistically. Heard some of these topics already tonight as you all have been discussing different projects and discussion points. Again, I mentioned this earlier, but a little bit of a mismatch between regional regulations and local regulations, so making sure that those are working in sync. General limitations with funding and resources, which is a big part of making TDM work. Related, again, more funding. And generally recognition that there's a kind of a range of options. There's not really one single big challenge or big solution, but that there's kind of a holistic approach that's needed. Again, a little recap. We've done some pop-up events. I won't dwell on this, as I mentioned it already, but heard from a lot of folks throughout the community. We heard some different themes, a lot of interest in making Samtrans better, We heard a lot of safety concerns about the roadway, especially for people walking, biking, or rolling, but also just general traffic safety and enforcement. We heard about infrastructure gaps, and as I mentioned, this isn't a plan that is focused on recommending infrastructure changes, but still helps us know where the gaps are and maybe where additional support is needed. And then travel challenges for certain types of trips. So folks getting over the hill and feeling like they can't rely on different transportation modes to get them back again. Folks getting to and from school having unique challenges, and then just general commuting challenges depending on where people work and where they live. Again, a lot of work with many folks in the community. So as much with these folks as we have been talking to these organizations as much as we've been talking to folks directly in the community, and it's been very valuable to hear what they're tackling and how they're approaching it to figure out where things can align and complement. So this is just a smattering, but many more as well. Again, a lot of support and interest, a lot of interest in avoiding duplication, but taking work that's already being done and making it work better for the coast side, and a few ideas about how to collaborate and find funding to make some of these things happen. I'll give you a quick overview of the strategy recommendations. Again, I'm gonna err on the side of being a little bit more brief, but happy to dive in. And the plan is out, so there's a lot to chew on there. So we have these 3 categories of strategies that we're recommending, and there's 14 broad recommendations across all 3 of them. So we have 4 transportation option recommendations. Those are things to make just create more options or make the existing options better. We have programs and incentives. So again, those kind of complementary things to do. So some planning strategies, some programmatic solutions. And then we have the kind of inside baseball regulations and management strategies. So setting the table with various ordinances to make sure that it's all working towards the community's goals and vision. I just picked a few that may be of interest, but happy to come back to this and talk about some of the others. So I'll just quickly highlight again and I should mention, sorry to go back and forth, each of these recommendations has within it a series of specific tactics that are kind of related to the theme. So it's there's a lot in the plan if you haven't had a chance to look at it. A lot of good work and good wisdom. So there's a lot of detail even behind this already kind of large list of strategies. So for example, in this first recommendation to improve public transit, we have some focused recommendations on expanding advisory roles to help relay concerns from the community to the service providers. We had some opportunity to refine bus stop design standards to make sure it's easier and safer and more appealing to wait for the bus. A variety of education and marketing programs to help folks learn about service, access service, and raise awareness. And then in the very long term, how to secure funding to perhaps even modify or expand service and make it work better for people's schedules and where people want to go. This strategy, calling a park once strategy. So again, in that parking conversation, finding places within the coast side where it could be easier for people to park and then walk from their car to multiple destinations rather than driving and parking multiple times, which helps reduce a little bit of the congestion associated with driving, makes it easier, for example, for visitors who are going to one destination to maybe add go to the beach and then walk downtown and get a meal or something like that. As long as we have some of the supporting amenities to make that possible. So simple things, signage, storage lockers, gear rentals, secure bike parking, things that make it possible to drive, park, leave your car, and then do a variety of things. Some programmatic things. This is kind of in many ways the heart and soul of TDM. So it's a lot of just legwork and getting out in the community, talking to people, developing a program identity, creating educational materials, getting it out there so people know how to access different services. We heard a lot about this from folks who, as we got out and talked to the community, that there's a lot of people who simply don't know about the different options. For example, the Samtrans on-demand Ride Plus service, which is relatively new very few folks knew about it or knew how to use it or knew how it worked. So this recommendation is really just about building that brand and getting out there and talking to people. And then the last one I'll mention is just some programs to make biking a little bit easier and safer. So looking at education and training, looking at some of the existing programs that help people purchase a bike or borrow a bike from a lending library, and looking to expand those to help expand access for students and for people who don't have access to a bike already, and just fine tuning and clarifying some of the regulations that are already on the books to make sure people understand where to bike safely. So, oh, one more I forgot about this one. This is sort of again, expanding access for students to school. So having a kind of school pool ride matching program, information and education to help support safe walking and biking. So expanding on the safe routes to school efforts in the community, and also just expanding capacity to manage some of those programs through a school access coordinator. I'll just wrap up with a few quick themes. Again, it's no single silver bullet strategy here is the most important. All the recommendations you'll see in the plan are meant to be complementary and mutually supportive and work towards some of the goals of the plan. Definitely a theme that new resources are needed. So we've tried to think through what can be done in the near term versus what has to come later after maybe new resources can be secured and staff capacity can be built up. And along a very similar lines, partnerships with the community are just essential. There's a lot of people doing incredible work in the coast side, building on those relationships and coming together to advance on these plans is critical. So again, the plan is out. I will pop the stuff in the chat after I come off screen, but at our website, you can view the plan. We have a sort of brief survey that's really more of just a comment collection tool. And we're doing a raffle for folks who complete that survey and share their feedback. So if you can relay that information, it'll be much appreciated. And that draft plan that's available now is building on some internal drafts that we've gone through some review with various agencies working on the project. It'll be open for public review till November 22nd. We'll incorporate all those edits and feedback, make some changes, and then have a couple final rounds of revision as we adopt the plan in early 2025. We have some upcoming engagement next week, so would love to see some of you out there, and would love to see some of the folks that you are representing out in the community. We have events on Monday and Tuesday, and also on Saturday the 2nd. So there'll be more information about those on our website shortly, and then a few more upcoming meetings with advisory bodies. So that is my set of slides. Let me pull off the screen share, although I'd be happy to bring it back up if folks want to view anything, but I will take it off so you can see my face. Oh. All right.
Awesome. First of all, thank you, Alex and Chanda, both. I just want to say as a framing comment, I think it's great that the county's, like really taking a look at transportation here on the coast side. It's obviously in some ways a more thorny issue here, just because you're dealing with the geographic isolation, the lack of density, the wild card that is the tourist traffic in and out, which not every place has. So there's just like some complicating factors here. So I know that it's a difficult issue to sort through, and I appreciate all the work that obviously went into this. Just a more specific comment, I was pleased to see kind of expanding Samtrans as one of the options that's highlighted here. I serve on the TA's Citizens Advisory Council, and I've said in that meeting multiple times that if we want to be serious about equity in transportation, like expanding bus service is the way to actually be serious about that. And so I'm pleased to see that as one of the recommendations. So thank you for that. So now other comments from the council. Kimberly?
Yes, great presentation, Alex. Thank you so much. I'm just curious. I noticed the community engagement events that inform this seem to be sort of happening Bay-centric. And I wondered, could you refresh our memories about what opportunities were provided for Midcoast unincorporated residents to participate in this area that weren't, in Half Moon Bay area?
Sure, and I can jump in. On the Midcoast for the first round, the event, we went to Pillar Ridge. And then we also went to we went to Fall Fest on the 12th, so more recently. And then we were at some events that are located in Half Moon Bay, but we imagine that Midcoast residents are likely to attend, like the Coastside Farmers Market. And I believe we also went to Make It Main Street. But I believe those were like the main pop-up events. And then when we did our focus group, I believe some of the stakeholders there were residents of the Midcoast. And then we've done our usual sort of web, we have a county webpage and email list that includes all of the Connect the Coastside stakeholders. So we've been putting out information to as many stakeholders as we can when we have opportunities.
Okay, I appreciate that, but I sort of feel like, as usual, we get left out a little bit. And one opportunity that would, before you actually created this, as opposed to marketing it, for the unincorporated coast side would have been helpful, because not everybody wants to drive all the way to Half Moon Bay. The farmers market, did you also do Pacifica Coast Side Farmers Market, or it was only the Half Moon Bay?
No, it was just that Half Moon Bay one. We didn't go to Pacifica.
Okay. I would encourage more, in future. I think this is a really great thing, but in future, I would encourage at least one direct outreach to the unincorporated members of our community.
Yeah, I totally hear you. There were not as many events that were happening during sort of our outreach periods already. We were trying to kind of capitalize. So we tried as much as we could to sort of figure out where some of the events were happening. But if you have suggestions on how to sort of, we talked to the chamber and the supervisor and kind of put feelers out, but if there are other opportunities for us to kind of figure out what events would be really good for us to attend, that would be super helpful for us to know for future planning processes and, for us to continue to promote.
Sure. I mean,
So yeah, please do feel free to share that with me. That would be really helpful. We tried to do a lot of figuring out where to go, and so yeah, it's just really always helpful to know where the community's at on the Midcoast.
All right, thank you.
So what is your northernmost boundary for your study, for this improvement plan study?
Yeah, it's a great question. Let me pull back up so you can see it on the map. And I'll say, as I'm pulling it up, that this was sort of an evolving question, which is unusual. And part of that is because TDM is so programmatic that there was some recognition that these things don't have firm boundaries. So I will share to explain what I'm talking about here. Okay. It's maybe a little difficult to see, but there's a sort of gray dashed line that is our formal project boundary, so including Montara.
Okay.
And the red line was sort of our expanded, this is where we're hearing folks are going to and from. It's technically outside of our formal study area, but we're sort of trying to recognize again that these things are not like a road project or a infrastructure project. They tend to impact people's lives in a way that's harder to define. So that also might have been related to some of the questions of outreach. We tried not to, so we were sort of limited in where we could look for outreach beyond the study area, even though the recommendations, had this fuzziness to them. So Pacifica being outside the study area was not an ideal option for some of the outreach.
So the reason I'm asking is I would love to get my bike from Montara to Devil's Slide Park safely on the road. So, and I just wondered if that's in your territory, in your study area.
You know, I guess this is also a question of, let me pull up a different slide here. We again didn't look at specific gaps like that,
Okay.
but we did look at kind of at a more high level, like how are we prioritizing, and where and how are we thinking about prioritizing biking and walking connections. So we didn't like look at the existing bicycle plan and say, hey, we should change this or we should add something here. We more tried to pull all that together and say, where are we hearing from folks that it's hard to bike, or maybe even where there's already a bike route today, are we hearing that there's still challenges due to either high-speed vehicles or just different destinations maybe than were on people's radar when they were built? So that's a little bit of a vague answer, I think, to your question, other than we're not really highlighting, as you'll see in the plan, specific segments or specific roadways, but really, again, that kind of holistic improvement approach.
Okay.
Cool. Thank you, Scott. Yeah, Dan?
Yeah, I can say it's pretty difficult to bike from Pacifica to Montera. I'll just stop there. I think it's fair to say that the flow demand on Highway 1 between Half Moon Bay and Pacifica is for the most part regulated by the traffic lights at Linamar, Highway 1, or Main Street and Highway 1. Since you're working on the demand management plan, do you know what essentially the maximum car flow on this segment between
I don't.
Bay and
yeah, sorry.
I could tell you it's somewhere in the range of 19 to 22 cars per minute. Now that could vary. That flow could, I've witnessed it moving at 45, 50 miles an hour. 20, let's just say 20 cars per minute. And then if it's if it's overloaded, it could go down to just scratch and crawl, 5 miles an hour. So I think it's fair to say that the overall community is interested in not seeing gridlock, and unless it's a pumpkin festival situation or an accident situation, we wouldn't want to see that on a regular basis. I think that's fair to say. And a lot of it has to do with how these traffic lights are controlled. For instance, just a few days ago, I'm at an intersection, it's red light for me, and there's no other cars moving in any other way, but yet I have to wait. Seems to me that, if there was a closer look at how these traffic lights were programmed and controlled, sensing cars that are not there, could turn it green for the cars that are there and that want to move. Essentially kind of allowing, a movement forward when there's no barriers except for the red light. So to get that so that it changes. Is this something that is part of your plans, part of your investigating, looking at possible improvements?
Good question. Yeah, and thanks for that info and background. This plan did not look at vehicle traffic or traffic data, and I think we did review some of the work done through Connect the Coast side, and I think that touched on it a bit. But this, I think, was more looking at where are folks feeling safe, where are folks having trouble crossing the street on a bike or walking, where are folks who are coming by car having trouble where do they encounter issues where they're trying to navigate to parking and they there's missing signage or wayfinding. So it's less about the traffic data and more about a little bit more of kind of what's the experience and what's the choice like of deciding, am I going to drive or am I going to take another mode?
Yeah, and I'll just
Yeah,
echo what
on
Alex
that.
said, this
Oh.
wasn't, and this plan is not an operational analysis, so it's not focused on roadway operations at all. It's really about, we all recognize that if we can have fewer people driving in general, but certainly driving alone less, that can lead to some really important benefits. And so it's, how do we optimize the infrastructure that we have, and how do we right size the programs and the policies and the supportive things so that people who do have a choice or need a different option can make that choice. So I hear you on, like the desire or need for an operational analysis, but that just wasn't included as part of this plan because that's not the focus of TDM.
Can I make a quick comment on some of the ideas you offered earlier? The digital signs that say that the parking lot is full or there's so many parking spaces left. The infrastructure of lockers for storage. These sort of suggestions. My comment there is that, we have a extremely valuable visual resource here on the coast side. And I would offer grave concern towards littering it with with things that sound good on a high-tech kind of a surface, but the end of the line may not be really used, or actually maybe cause further problems. So I'm hoping that before anything was like fully really recommended, that the community would have absolute opportunity to really talk through and talk specifically the pros and cons of some of these suggestions. And I think that's so the picture of the bus with a trailer, is that something that is kind of being proposed? I know Samtrans brought that in the past. That you put a picture up with an urban style double bus with a trailer.
Pull it up.
Do you remember that? That's okay. It's not that important. It's just that they take up a lot more space. Yeah, that one right there. The smaller buses take up less space or easier to maneuver. Don't slow the overall traffic down as much. So I just make that comment.
Sure.
And okay, so definitely looking forward to conversations on the operational aspect of the highway and the traffic signals and how they're programmed. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. And just a quick note on one of your comments. Yes, a lot of these strategies, in many ways, this is just the beginning. There's going to be more processes and more opportunities to weigh in on them going forward. So yes, to that point on kind of further decisions ahead about how to advance things, what they look like, where they're appropriate, all ahead of us. So thanks for that.
Cool. Thank you. Claire?
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for all your work. I'm a big fan of Rides Plus. I just want to put that in there. But I've never been able to use it because it doesn't run in the evening and it doesn't run where I live. Less than half of our territory that we represent is served by Rides Plus, and we just want to tell everybody we can, as often as we can, that we would like it to be extended.
Great, thank you for that. Yes, we have heard that. So definitely have been relaying that to the Samtrans team, and I think have got some good, hopefully it feels like some good threads for how work towards that. And I think Samtrans, for their part, are very interested in it. A lot of questions about resources and about, how to do it, where to do it, when to do it. But I think that, I heard a lot of folks who want to use that service more, but are limited by schedule and geography. So thanks for that.
The one specific follow-up question, Claire, just on this.
Yeah.
If you were to shift the operational hours, like say you could only keep the 8 to 5, what would they be? What would actually be a better time frame for the service to run, in your opinion?
Well, for me personally, I would like more evening hours.
Okay.
Maybe 10 to 8 or something like that would be better, because I don't like to drive in the dark. And a lot of people up here don't. So that, and there once was a time I was almost able to take it from one place in Half Moon Bay to one place in El Granada, except that I needed to do it at 7 p.m. and that wasn't able to happen. So, but that's an answer to your question.
That's actually really helpful, and it'd be if anybody else has thoughts on weighing in, like what, just if they want to during this conversation, I'd be happy to note those down. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Claire. Greg?
It was a pleasure to meet Shonda in person at the El Granada Park. And I posted my stickers. My first question is, Shonda, when will my priority be complete? And that was a joke. But let me just run through a few things here. Do I understand correctly that there is no survey of major transportation use cases in this study? Am I wrong there?
Sorry,
I'm not sure I sorry, go ahead.
Let me give you some use cases. All right. Home delivery of groceries, getting your cleaning done to and from, getting hardware. I can imagine local merchants would love it if, there were a timely delivery of hardware. That would save a trip. Otherwise, you do Amazon and the local merchants lose the business. What about surfing and eating or shopping after surfing? What do you do with that surfboard? We have a no restaurant here in Montera. Can't keep one open. Maybe we don't deserve a restaurant. Maybe some people don't want a restaurant, but transportation's got to be a factor, and so is parking.
Yeah,
I do want to emphasize that Pacifica is easier for many of us to get to and from, and I would love to see the boundary of this study including Pacifica to the north, because without it, I think we're missing something major here. And then I also wonder, what are really the problematic use cases for transportation, given we have electric vehicles surging? They're not all there yet, but the focus on vehicle miles traveled seems irrelevant, given that we have clean technology cars. The delay index, however, is relevant. And then there's the complication of more parking just means more traffic. The concept of latent demand in the UCLA transportation study that I put into the chat. So maybe we should put the parking outside the Midcoast, but you got to have a way for the people with the surfboards to get there. And given that they're taking away the parking at Surfers Beach, it sounds like that might be a very popular use case. And then the concept of congestion pricing or parking surcharges. Is that something you're considering? And then I'll close with a final thought for the council, which is, does the MCC need to write some opinion on this matter before the November 22nd deadline? I just throw that out there because we have opinions. And I just expressed a bunch that, need to be refined. So I'm just curious on whether we should provide them with some organized feedback on what they're doing, because what they're doing is very important. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for that. I'll just add that, that was a lot of great themes there. And yes, a lot of those we've heard from community members. So we did have a lot of discussions about what kinds of trips do you make, on a given week, and what's hard? How do you get there today? What's your plan A? What's your plan B? Are you getting the shopping done, going to a medical appointment over the hill? Are you going to a restaurant, and where do you see challenges? We did hear a lot about the gear issue. I think you'll see some strategies in there. Again, sort of related to that Park One strategy. Can we make it? Is it possible to make it feasible for people to park or come by bus from over the hill and bring a surfboard and put it somewhere? We did hear a lot about parking more broadly, and yes, had some discussions with some of the regional organizations to understand what are the regulations, what can we recommend, what can we work towards, what are the options when it comes to the kind of shared parking strategies. Does paid parking make sense in any part of the coast side? In what sort of process or framework would make sense to set that up? So if that was something that was done, that it was something that was enriching the local community and funding some of these other strategies or managing congestion smartly. So I think a lot of those comments, you'll find good things in there, and definitely want to hear more about how to make sure that they are really sharpened, well to what you see in the community and any gaps where we could enhance those concepts a little bit further.
Awesome. Kimberly, you had no.
Yeah, I just wanted to, what Greg said, focusing on sort of alleviating driving as the default travel mode and encouraging all these other forms of I forget what you called it, one parking or something like that, parking once.
Yes.
Park
once.
I feel like there is just this really big gap in the knowledge because you've made it Half Moon Bay centered, and when people visit Half Moon Bay, as Greg was pointing out, they usually come this way. They come north. They're either traveling from Pacifica to get there. The major attractions are Surfers Beach, there's Sam's Restaurant, Moss Beach Distillery, the Harbor, and Fitzgerald Marine Reserve. And all of those places involve the need for eliminating a lot of the congestion and parking that ensues because of that traffic. So it's not just confined to that one little section of Half Moon Bay and people going over the hill. The people in the Midcoast also travel over the hill and they go both directions.
Yeah.
I would add to Kimberly, the demand I see is at Montara State Beach and Graywell Cove.
That's actually, yes,
It's
a big
up
one.
and down the coast.
Right, which are on the
You
way to
could
Pacific.
go on.
But I think that, you gathered a lot of feedback, and I really do think this is a really great study. It has wonderful things in it, and I'm fully supportive of it, but I just would like to plug that hole of, I don't feel you had enough input from those of us on this section of the coast.
And I think that's where, like why we wanted to come here early in the feedback process to really hear this type of comment. And, I'll let you all discuss Greg's question about whether the MCC will provide a formal comment letter, but I hope as residents of the Midcoast, you will also take a look at the strategies. I don't think any of them are Half Moon Bay centric. I think that they are all applicable to a broader area. So any specificity that we can add to the tactics, and as Alex mentioned, each big picture strategy has a tactic with many action steps. So if there's more specificity that we can add to any of those with what you're sharing, and we're certainly taking notes now, that's really helpful to have. So we really do want to hear that feedback, because this is the time for us to continue refining what we have. And if we've really completely left off a big picture strategy that is a TDM strategy, we also want to hear those ideas as well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I just want to briefly echo that because I think that is we sort of heard this theme at every edge of the study area, right? Which is sort of a theme throughout our work, as folks go far and wide from this small part of the coast that we're looking at. And I think to Chana's point, while the study area is maybe not perfect, a lot of the strategies ended up in a place where, again, we're focused on partnering with these regional agencies, state parks, Samtrans, who are looking, beyond this boundary. And I think a lot of the recommendations, there's a lot of intent there to move forward from this project without a boundary anymore and just focusing on meeting the needs of the community. So that this is definitely I want folks to feel like this is still a timely opportunity to weigh in on things like that. If there's gaps we've missed because of the study area, that's good to hear about. And also as you review the strategies, hopefully they read as open a little bit when it comes to geography, and you can see paths forward to implement them, beyond that dotted line.
I thought of one other thing. GGNRA has been to our council twice now, and they are, in the middle of a sort of a long-term project to open up GGNRA lands to more visitors, which would be another component here. I see that you have, other partners here that are similar, and they might be someone also to talk to in terms of this because they're looking to increase their visitorship.
Great, thank you for that. That's a really helpful suggestion.
Second, what Kimberly said, they're also going to add parking, which in my opinion is just going to end up being more parking for the people visiting Montero State Beach, and not for GGNRA. It's just going to get consumed.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
I just want to acknowledge that there's two hands up, community members that like to speak.
I was doing council first.
Okay.
Once I'm sure all the council members have had their say, then I'll open it up to the public.
Well, yeah.
Okay. Are there any other comments from the council? No? Yeah, great. Then it is time, in fact, to go to the public. So we'll start with Catherine and then Michelle.
Thank you. I've been active on many facets of this coastline for many, many years, decades even. And I have seen studies that the county did and other agencies did and so on, and they all came out just nice. And then there was no money to make any of this happen. It takes money. Once upon a time, we actually had increased bus service here to take care of some kind of socially positive things that the county wanted. And when there weren't enough riders, it just disappeared. And yet the conditions on this were that it would be to have more bus transit. I note that this is based on a lot of hypotheticals and plans and things. Have you looked at the demographics of the coast side? There are many, many families here with young children. My daughter is not going to ride her bicycle with a 1-year-old to go grocery shopping. I'm retired. I'm not going to ride a bicycle. I gave up riding bicycles in Half Moon Bay, I will say 45 or more years ago, when I was almost killed in a parking lot. And I still see that many people aren't aware of bicycles. But there are many seniors here. And for instance, directing parking from tourists and commute and Highway 1 users into the neighborhoods. Montero doesn't have sidewalks. I don't know if you've been here yet, but we don't have sidewalks. We have open drains, and we have 95-year-olds walking in their walkers for their exercise. And if somebody swings through real fast, that could be a real disaster. Our streets are set up for diversity. Any and all people can use them. Equity, we all have a right to using the road. And inclusion, again, anybody can use the road, but you have to understand that there are dogs and people who are handicapped and people on bicycles, and it's a good system when everybody's aware. But I see this also as a top down. I don't see it's growing out from the community. And what has worked in this community, particularly the Midcoast, first of all, Half Moon Bay and the Midcoast are two entirely different cultures. Hard to believe, but Half Moon Bay has sidewalks and crosswalks and all that stuff. Montero and El Granada and Moss Beach don't. And nobody lives here by accident. We're all aware of what's going on, and we don't want to pay for sidewalks. We don't want to pay for all of this stuff. It gets expensive, and we all already have enough problems. So I agree with the thought that we should be looking at safety for bicyclists. I watched a bicyclist running down the middle of the northbound traffic on Highway 1 between Montera and Pacifica today, and I was wondering how fast the cars that were on the blind turn were going when they couldn't see them. That can be a problem, but the surfers are generally residents here. And to ask if they take, and they have been parking here, and there are seniors who come, or surfers who come down here from Pacifica too. Montera and Pacifica have very, very many things in common. When the slide was closed decades ago, the businesses at this end of Pacifica suffered mightily because their Montera customers were not there. But again, it's important. And if you charge for parking to the people who live here, that's obscene. That would mean people who don't have a lot of money probably aren't going to be going. When I'm looking at a McDonald's hamburger for $6.50, I know what the parking's going to be, and it's going to be limiting to those of us who are on social. So I'm looking for some age and community equity in this too, instead of making it all based on some fancy theories from somewhere that won't work for our particular communities, because we are not like Half Moon Bay. We're not like Fairfield, and we're not like Sacramento. So I thank you. I will look into this more, and I would suggest that you find a way to actually find a space that you can, for instance, to get in touch with people. If you have the time, come for a couple hours to the post office on a Saturday or on a Friday or Saturday in Montera. And the same for El Granada, and the same for Moss Beach. Many of us get our mail there, and we're more than happy to talk and chat and get information. That's just one suggestion. Come to the special districts and make a presentation. There's the sewer district, there's 2 sanitary districts, there's the harbor district. All of these are special interest and stakeholders as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Catherine. Michelle?
Yeah, I know you guys aren't Samtrans, but I tried the ride share and it was okay. The app has some issues. It doesn't have the same interface as say Uber does, so it doesn't show you the Samtrans vehicle coming towards you or not coming towards you. I got stranded by it, but I had friends who took me home. And 8 to 5 is just, I watched the bus go by. It's got one person in it, maybe. Most of the time it's empty. People like to go out to dinner. This is a tourist community. And the hotels and the restaurants would love to be able to show people that they could get on a bus from their hotel or from their Airbnb or whatever it is. And so you're looking more at a 10 o'clock or 9 o'clock at night ending time. I think there are people that do use it in the morning, but there's a lot of older people that live in Moss Beach and Montera, and I don't understand why it stops at Pillar Ridge. It just doesn't make any sense. There's another, I don't know, 4,000 people that live up coast. And I was talking to Randall White. I don't know if he's still in his position, but he was there last year and he was sort of manning up the project. But if you guys have the rideshare app and the bus it's a small bus. It moves quickly. To Dan's point, large buses at certain times they can be full, like when for school and stuff like that. But other than that, they're almost always empty. So if you can talk to them, that would be great. Also, I'm also Coastside Buzz. If you have events that you want to put up on my calendar, it's the best calendar on the coast side. It's the most comprehensive, and then I can get it out there to the 10,000 people that follow me on the coast side. Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle. Any other comments, questions for John and Alex? No?
Yeah, it's Rob
Oh.
Skinner. I've a couple of questions, if you don't mind.
Sure.
What was the decision based on to cut off the south?
I'm not sure I heard the end of your sentence.
Rob is on the Pescadero Municipal Advisory Council. He's a longstanding leader in Pescadero.
I see. Hi, Rob. So we were looking at the unincorporated Midcoast and Half Moon Bay contiguously because out of the Connect the Coast Side process, we heard there was a important need to sort of do shared TDM planning and more shared planning across those two areas. But through this engagement, we did hear a lot from South Coast residents as well. We were at the Pescadero Farm Worker Convention as part of our second round of outreach, and heard about the need to really get to services further north. Fundamentally, I think that, again, some of the programs that we're talking about in this plan are certainly applicable to the South Coast area as well. But it just wasn't included in the formal study area when we applied for the funding and moved forward with the planning effort. There's also other areas that I think South Coast residents tend to travel that are less traveled by some of the Midcoast and Half Moon Bay residents. So La Honda, further on 84. So we recognize that there's more transportation needs that are out there. But again, I think some of the TDM planning that we're talking about is intended to serve those residents as well.
Thank you. Is it possible that there could be a limited service available on the weekends, perhaps as Pescadero as a hub, and you could hit Lomamar, and San Gregorio has wonderful entertainment on the weekends, and perhaps even Año Nuevo, and not try to be everything to everyone?
By limited service, are you referencing like Samtrans service?
Well, whatever we could get.
And so I think that we could certainly take that comment and relay it to Samtrans. I'm still discussing with them kind of what cost information I can put out in front of the plan. But I think more would need to be done, I think, to figure out if there could be a separate service beyond Sam Coast or Ready Coast. Some of the services that are already offered in the South Coast. I think there is certainly a desire when we've talked to Samtrans about trying to right size and figure out what can be done, like how can Samtrans support South Coast residents to get where they need to go. The micro transit service doesn't seem like at this point the right fit, but I think they're really trying to, continue exploring that. So if you have a service area or some destinations that you want to send to us via comment, that would be really helpful.
Well, you're welcome to attend our PMAC meeting. It's next Tuesday, and it's every month.
I appreciate the invitation. I probably won't make it, but I would really appreciate the written comment, if you don't mind. I didn't catch all the areas that you just mentioned, although I guess I could rewatch this video later.
No, I'll be happy to correspond with you.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Rob. All right. Other comments, questions for John and Alex? Anyone?
I just had a thought. When I heard from Rob, it's just a crazy idea, but in a way, we're kind of an adult Disneyland out here for the San Francisco and a bunch of stuff. Imagine a day where you could surf in Montero State Beach, get on a bus, ride a horse in Pescadero, and come back and have a meal in Half Moon Bay or something, like that. I'm just saying, if we took a broader view, and what are the school buses doing on the weekends? Now, I'm sure we're going to hear liability issues and so forth, but at some point the schools are going to need to replace their buses. So why wouldn't we change the protocol so that they could carry surfboards and bikes and do schoolwork during the day and be available on holidays and weekends for, the adult Disneyland? I'm just thinking out loud here.
Good thinking, Greg.
There's also the tramway.
Oh, the tramway. Well, I think we do need to do a fiscal sustainability analysis on whatever we undertake.
Great. Okay, other comments? No? John, Alex, really appreciate coming to see us and tell us about the plan. Again, I think it's a lot of good work going on there, and we hope to remain part of what's going on.
Thank you so much. You certainly will be. And we'll go ahead and drop the web link into oh, Alex just did it. Thank you, Alex. So again, we really appreciate you reviewing the plan, providing your comments. We really want to emphasize that this is a time for refinement. And we are happy to answer questions after this via email. So thank you again.
Yeah, thank you all so much. Really appreciate the thoughts, the feedback, and the ideas. A lot of great discussion. So thanks for your time.
Cool. Thank you. Awesome. All right, then on we go to the next item on the agenda, which is Claire is going to give us an update on planning for healthcare on the coast.
Okay, I'm leaving the meeting.
Somebody's leaving? Okay. Yeah, I'm going to keep this pretty short because I'm getting tired. And mostly I want to tell you about what's happening as a success story, because I don't know if you can see, you can see the flyer on the screen right now.
You can see it.
Okay, good. This meeting and the content of this meeting is the result of probably close to 2 years of people who really didn't know what they were talking about and got no money and got no support from anybody, sitting down and just saying, what can we do? And we've done a lot. And we've got many people involved in some new ventures for the coast. We have to give credit to Ray Mueller because he did provide some money, which is going to be used very productively. But it wouldn't have happened without the just plain old people that have put this together. The money would not have done anything by itself. So it's needed everybody from all different angles coming together. So this meeting is taking place next Tuesday at 6 p.m. at the Oceana Hotel, which is being donated, in the gatehouse, which is separate from the hotel. And the purpose of the meeting is several things. One is to gather responses to this questionnaire, which says, what do you need? And are you willing to use it? The other things that it's going to do is introduce the new urgent care center, which actually is going to exist. I want to, let's see, I'm using 3 different PowerPoints here, and I may end up using none of them, depending on how it goes. I had a list here of different types of healthcare that people need and what we actually have here on the coast. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. We have pretty good primary care, except there is no OBGYN on the coast. Specialty care, we have none. Ancillary care, which is podiatry, physical therapy, all that kind of stuff, we have some of, not enough. Emergency care is the main focus of this meeting and of what I'm going to tell you tonight. And we do have, and that, we'll go into that. And then there's in-house care, which is general hospitals, mental health facilities, skilled nursing care, most of which are woefully lacking. So I did want to show you this chart from the EMS system. And I think this is what
we're only seeing half your screen. Is there a way that you fix that?
like that? Is that better?
We literally it bisects the document in half.
Huh.
I don't know why, but we can only see half
She
of
has
it.
two screens going at the same time. That's confusing.
I think she's only previewing it on her screen. I think you would need to download it and
Oh, this is the thing where you have the slideshow in one window and the document window in the other. Yeah.
Okay, well, I don't know how to fix it. So if you just basically listen to me, I'll tell you very briefly about the
Okay.
fact that we have. Is it more trouble for you to look at it badly? Should I just take it off?
So no, show us the left-hand half of the slides. That's better than nothing.
Okay. The slide that I just took down showed that when Seton Coastside was open as an emergency room.
That's everything.
That came up? Okay.
Yeah.
That about once every other month, somebody actually was taken with lights and sirens to that emergency room because they were so critically injured that this was a lifesaver for them. And if you see that what also happens there is that a lot of people were transported out of the emergency room to other places where they actually got more care after they were stabilized. Some of them were still unstable when they were transported out. But it shows that there was a very limited role for the emergency room, but it was important in some cases. It also shows ambulance responses on the coast side. For 2023, there were almost 1,000 ambulance responses, and half of those people were transported to hospitals. The question is whether some of these people could have been transported to an urgent care center, it just gives you an idea of what the volume of emergencies, real emergencies, is here. It's fairly high. So I'm going to close this thing out because I want to tell you two more things. One thing is about what is the difference between urgent care and emergency care. And this is important partly because of the lawsuit, which you are probably aware of. You know that the state, at the urging of the county government, has sued the parent company of Seton Coastside. And there are two major issues. One is that they did close the place down without going through the proper paperwork. And the other issue is that it's currently required that they have an emergency room there. And many people are thinking a really good urgent care center there would be more appropriate and more reliable. So let me get up this here so I can tell you what the differences are.
Got it.
Okay. What we had at Seton Coastside was emergency standby department, which means that the basic criteria for them to exist was that they had to be open for 24 hours a day. They had to have a nurse on the premises, which of course they had because they had a nursing home. And they had to have a physician available in a reasonable time, which is not specified. And they needed to have life-saving equipment like a defibrillator, a ventilator, cardiac monitor, and that sort of thing. I think that, in fact, Seton Coastside probably exceeded these requirements, but this is all that's required for a standby emergency room. Basically, that they're there. Urgent care has even fewer criteria. Urgent care centers vary widely, but in general, they have expanded hours usually beyond the usual business hours. They are usually less expensive and more user-friendly than an emergency room. This is important because many people would go to Seton Coastside with minor problems, things that were appropriate for urgent care, and their insurance would refuse to pay for it because it wasn't truly an emergency. So people ended up paying emergency room fees for something really minor that their insurance wouldn't cover. And so they didn't go back, obviously. The urgent care gets around that. They have different fee structures. They're designed to assess and treat conditions that need prompt attention. They're available with little or no advanced appointment. The physician and non-physician staff are fairly flexible. They often play more than one role at the facility. Let's see. What else can I tell you? I've been just a little foggier, and I've got so many pieces of things that I don't know what I'm doing with. But this meeting on, oh, I know it's really important. This meeting next Tuesday, we really want a lot of people there. The county is refusing to participate because of the lawsuit, but they're watching it and they want to see what we want. And they are going to use the information that we generate from this meeting to make decisions that they are going to carry out with what kind of plans they have in the future. I don't think they really need not to come. I think that that's their problem. But we will have the survey, which is attached to the flyer. We want everybody to take the survey. The survey says basically, would you use urgent care if it was available and your insurance paid for it? And a few related questions to that. We'd like to demonstrate that there is a appetite for urgent care and a need for urgent care. The current project, which will open on November 12th, is funded by the county. That's the money that Ray got us. And it only lasts for 6 months. If nobody uses it, if the place is dead, nothing else will ever happen. If it's used robustly, then there's a chance that something else will happen on a long-term basis. And to sweeten the pot, the county will pick up any charges that your insurance denies. So if you have Kaiser, you can come to this clinic, you can come to this urgent care place, you can get taken care of, and the county will pay for it. If you have any insurance at all or no insurance at all, they'll bill your insurance first, but if it doesn't pay, the county will pay. What we're hoping, best of all possible worlds, is that this will be a rousing success. People will use it. It'll demonstrate that there is a market for it here, which I think you can see from the EMS data. And at the end of the 6 months that the county's agreed to fund it, Seton Coastside will reopen. It'll reopen with a robust emergency room with backup from X-ray and lab and other acute services. And it will be a more full service urgent care than what we're going to have for the first 6 months. But that we'll end up with really decent urgent care on the coast, which is something that we don't have now, and we don't have emergency care now. And I really think that coming to this meeting, and even more importantly, using the urgent care when it opens is a real important thing for us all to think about. And that's it.
Awesome. Thank you, Claire. I certainly hope nobody tells the insurance companies that the county will pay for it if they deny it. Let's not tell them. All right. Questions for Claire, Kimberly?
That's really great, Claire. So I have 3 questions. First is, do we know how many responses we already have to the survey?
I heard today that we had 50.
50. Okay, that's pretty respectable. Did we post the announcement for the event at the post offices?
Yes.
Okay. Are there other places we could post it that any of us could like spread flyers around?
Next door.
It's been on Nextdoor. I'm hoping that Michelle is going to post it.
I will.
Okay.
Is
We have a large distribution list. Things have gone out to all kinds of people, but we could always use more publicity. So anything else that anybody can think of, if you want to ask me to do it, if you want to drop it at the gym when you go to the gym, just anything you can do would be helpful.
What's your target number of surveys?
As many as we can get.
Like, is there a threshold that ideally we'd like to meet?
We're gonna push it, but I don't know what the number is. I'd say 800, but who knows? I don't know.
I guess, you're talking about how important it is, and I'm wondering, should we like be at a table at the post office and catch people as they come and go and have
That
them
would be
actually fill
great.
out a paper survey or
That would be
something?
great. And incidentally, Half Moon Bay City of Half Moon Bay is paying for this whole thing, which is not incredibly expensive, but it's a few $1,000s. And I wanted MCC because MCC and PMAC and us and Half Moon Bay are all jointly sponsoring this along with the senior center. And I feel kind of embarrassed that we can't cough up any money, but they understand that. If there was a way, I would like to. Yes, but yes, you're right. Sitting at a table, there's been 8 of us that have been working on this and putting this together. Everybody's been working really hard. I think everybody's kind of halfway worn out. We could do that, and anybody that wants to volunteer to help could do that too.
Okay. Well, maybe we could think more about that, and I'm willing to volunteer a little bit of the time I have to go out and collect surveys if we, if there's a way that you think, or a place or something that you think would be best.
Well, you could sit at the post office on Saturday and with a flyer and have people come by and take shots of the QR code.
And we'll give you cards about the MCC to recruit members.
Exactly.
Okay.
2 birds with the proverbial stone. Okay, was that all of those?
That was all my questions.
Okay, great. Who else has questions for Claire? Greg?
So I know a woman who's behind on her vaccination and flu shots. Is that an urgent care thing?
Oh, yes. Vaccinations and flu shots are urgent care things. So are sports physicals and employment physicals. You don't have to be dying. You just need something to happen quickly.
So we need to encourage everybody to go get their flu, and what are the other things? RSV, COVID shots at Dignity Health as soon as it opens.
And COVID tests and all that other stuff.
Cool. Awesome.
I did want to comment though. There's apparently a QR code on the flyer.
Yeah.
Take the survey. I think we need to post a link. Not make people go to a flyer and figure out where the link is. So I'm going to do what I can to extract the link and post it on Nextdoor directly. It might be redone. And I'm wondering if we can get Michelle to post it on Buzz.
I'm just wondering if there are people who are not so tech savvy that they're apt to use a QR code, and so maybe they're more likely to fill out a paper survey.
We do have paper surveys. I think they were thinking that the more people that can use the QR code, the easier it was to tabulate. But there's also a link on the flyer that takes you to the survey as well. That you can do online, I believe.
Okay, Anne.
Sorry, I had to unmute. I was also going to say, a lot of high school seniors also have to have physicals and appointments in order to go to college. So as they're graduating, that's another group of people who would obviously like to utilize this, I'm assuming, because right now they probably have to go over the hill to get those certifications before they're able to attend school.
Yeah, I would think that would be covered.
Thanks, Claire.
Awesome. Other questions for Claire from the council? No. Any questions for Claire from the public?
Did you see the chat? Michelle Dragony is creating a post for Buzz for the survey. So appreciate that, Michelle.
Yeah, thank you, Michelle. Okay, I think that's then, thank you, Claire, for that update. It's great to see you making progress on this issue. Awesome, then That's the end of the regular agenda, which gets us to council activity. Who's got something? I think we already heard about the thing in parks. But thank you for going to that.
Well, so I think you know, Gus, and Scott knows, we worked a little bit on stormwater. Unfortunately, 2 more neighborhoods are reporting flooding problems. And then I just heard at this meeting, and I've lost track of it. Was it Catherine Slater Carter told me somebody else is flooding? So I've got over 1,000 pictures and probably that many pages of material. It's just way too much. So I'm going to have to do something to whittle it down, but I am trying to get this thing into a draft that I can send to the council. And hopefully by the end of you could review it.
Yeah.
Greg, when I was posting flyers for this healthcare thing at Spangler's Market, I saw something posted about something the MCC was putting on November 6th about stormwater. Is that something everybody knows about? I don't know about it.
We are putting on something on November
That's what
6th.
that's what it said. I think it may have been RCD or
We better go look at that. We better go look at that.
Okay. It's news to me.
Universe.
So you want an update? I gave
Yeah.
I gave our update to Half Moon Bay City Council last week and used the flyer.
Nice.
Use the recruitment flyer that I put on in email.
Good.
Cool. I've reached out to a couple of people and haven't reeled anybody in yet, but I'm working on that. I'm meeting with Bray tomorrow. If there's anything specific anybody wants me to bring up with him.
So,
Well, you could ask them how we're doing on the stormwater issues in Quarry Park and 2nd Street in Montera. Ask him whether or not there's a fund fed by surcharges on permit fees for construction, either
Okay, wait, is there a
80
fund
if-
fed by surcharges
on permit fees for ADUs or new building construction of any type
for
to address stormwater? And I'm not talking about the $7 fee that goes to CCAG for getting us the stormwater permit. I'm talking about, is there a fund for infrastructure?
Let's see.
Hey, can you ask him what's up with Marauder Road too?
have
You
you
say
gone
what's
to
up?
the
What is?
website to
No.
look at the update?
That would be,
No, I didn't know that. I know it
that would
exists.
be DW.
I sent you a
Department-
picture
Public
of what it
Works.
looks like
System.
right now.
I guess.
And I think Lisa put a catch on the chat to sign up for
Oh, for updates on.
updates on that, yeah.
Okay.
But that's DPW, that'd be Department of Public Works.
Is that what I look DPW for updates on Marauder Road?
They send out almost weekly now, an email update that takes you to the website and it tells you what the newest development is.
Okay.
Cool. Anybody else?
Oh,
Yes, right.
do we have somebody that could help Catherine do that survey about the Surfers Beach parking? Do we know anybody in the audience or elsewhere?
That's gonna be tough to do,
It's
like,
a
you know,
small internet
scientifically.
thing. I just don't know how to do it.
Why would we be doing that?
Because we want to help her gather information about people's need for access to Surfers Beach and the parking.
So,
I haven't seen her survey.
okay, I'm sorry, but I'm a little perplexed by this because the Harbor District, of which Catherine is a part, has had ample opportunity to provide parking in the Surfers Beach area, and they have not done so. They have reduced parking, so I'm a little confused by her entreaties to, for us to do something here because I haven't seen the Harbor District move on this. To be blunt.
No, that's a good comment, and I've heard comments to the effect it's the Harbor Beaches, the Harbor District's parking, and they're not gonna volunteer.
I mean, they just renewed a lease to an individual over a space that could have provided ample parking to the public for Surfers Beach.
Right, that's the, can't remember his name,
Heat.
Keaton Aaron, and, they're getting, at least the last time I looked, something like $200,000 a year for the lease of that
Well,
space.
and the lease has been violated multiple times.
Yeah. And they didn't pull it because they were afraid of a lawsuit.
I don't think that's the reason. There were no grounds for, I mean, it was clear cut. So, you know, I don't think the MCC should be, you know, taking that on necessarily, I guess is what I'm saying.
Point made.
It's an important thing, yes, but I'm not sure that we have the capacity or are able to, you know, do anything significant that would really make a difference in this case, unless you disagree.
I don't disagree.
Yeah. I see Burnett's hands up. Burnett?
Yeah, thanks. I just, when that comment about the stormwater, of course, you can pick up my ears. But anyway, a number of supervisor meetings ago, the comment came up about trying to find some funds to handle some of these issues, and the supposedly working on that to see if they can come up with some funds. So you might want to bring that up as well, Gus. Not so much the fact that are there fees being generated, but is there any money available when you talk to Ray?
Related point.
So is there money available for stormwater?
Why, for instance, don't we get Measure K money like everybody else does?
And I'm assuming you're characterizing these as not like major infrastructure. These are, well, it is major, but these are not like building a bridge. These are neighborhood scale.
They're neighborhood scale projects,
Needs.
but they might cost $1 million or more.
Well, that's what I'm getting at, though, the size of the projects. Not necessarily the cost. It's not the relationship to size versus cost is not necessarily. Well, you know what
I'm not. I'll see what he says.
So, you know, as I drive around on my bike, and this is just a offhand comment, I see a lot of infrastructure that, you know, post stormwater runoff, destruction of roads that are getting fixed right now. I know it's happening on Old Stage Road, Higgins Purisma Road. A lot of stuff is happening, and maybe it should be happening here too. So I know the county's doing stuff on rural roads that don't see a lot of traffic.
Is that Highway 84 where they had the problem that you're talking about?
No, I'm talking about even not, I don't count 84 as a rural road. I'm talking about roads that don't get much car traffic, like Old Stage Road. It's just this road between San Gregorio and Pescadero and Higgins Purisma Road, you know, the one that goes to Higgins Purisma Park and back. It's that little loop in there. So I know they're doing stuff. Like major road work and major projects are happening, but not here.
They had major damage too. Worse than ours.
Okay, yeah, I agree with you.
So under council activity, before we get to agenda, I just want to follow up on some notes I've taken. We're going to post the MCC website, notice of the Coastal Commission appeal on parking at El Granada, parking at the Surfers Beach when we get that link. We're going to post Scott's daughter's flyer.
Why are we
and
posting
elevate-
that? Did we have this conversation before?
What?
It's an individual lawsuit, so why are we posting it?
It's an appeal, not a lawsuit. We're posting notice of the hearing.
People should know that.
People should know I think it's an important community issue. And Scott's daughter's flyer to recruit more MCC members. We're going to elevate that post.
Yeah.
Right after we're going to elevate Claire's Coastside Healthcare post right after this meeting so that it's the top of the agenda. And then the other notes I have are on future agendas.
Oh, and Claire, I called Julie. I left a message for her about Big Wave, but I haven't heard back yet.
Okay. I could work on that after next week if you want me to.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if she doesn't call me back before then yeah, I mean, that it sounds like we have more connection to her anyway. Cool. Okay, anything else on council activity? No. Okay, future agendas.
I have a major one.
Okay.
So at our last meeting, we talked about this whole, budget allocation thing.
Right.
And I thought we were gonna put it on the agenda for this meeting. I strongly suggest we put it on the agenda for the next meeting because
Okay, what are we?
You're talking about
putting
our ability to control our own funding.
yes. I think there are several things to discuss, right? Even if and it sounds like we ultimately have to go along with this.
Mhm.
I don't know what the deadline is for us to close the account and everything, but
I haven't gotten the letter yet instructing us.
I think we should insist strongly that we draw up a plan to spend the funds we currently have, so we don't have to give that back to the county. And present that plan to spend the funds on, authorized things. Because otherwise, I'm assuming they're gonna take control of that and it's gone. And then to start to think about what are the things we want to buy, before the end, what are the things we need to cover before the end of the year and pay those with the funds we currently have. And think about a budget plan for next year of things we know about that we anticipate, maybe it could be 2 to 3 events during the year and just do a preliminary budget so that we have our ducks in a row and we can be more strategic about utilizing the funds in a legal manner.
So I already mentioned I would like to have a peer review of the stormwater study, which could cost 1,000. Let's say we allocate not to exceed 3,000. The point being, it won't be a stamped professional engineering study, which would cost
$30,000.
no 10 or more. Yeah, maybe 30. I mean, sky's the limit. But I did talk to some engineers who said, yeah, I could review a 100-page document. We charge you by the hour. Make some comments, but they won't stamp it. Right, because it won't be a design certification. So I would nominate that in the spirit of what Kimberly's mentioned.
Okay, so I think we should. Okay, so we're gonna do that. I think we need to. I think we need to figure out who that is. I think we need to. I think we have.
We can allocate the funds without selecting the final firm. I mean, I could make recommendations on the firm right now, but I don't think I should. I mean, I think there should be a mini. The problem is it's such a small amount of money. You're not going to get vendors coming in here making presentations on why we should pick them. It's going to be.
So you need to think of a way to get a receipt for what you want to do. If you want to allocate the money.
Get a bid that has the dollar amount in it.
If whatever you think is appropriate for this process that you're proposing.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we do any of these things. I think we should discuss it. But make sure we can document this.
All right, so in the spirit, I endorse Kimberly's suggestion for an agenda item, and I'll do what I can to support, my little contribution to that.
Yeah, because I think my guess is between now and the next meeting, we'll probably get the letter saying we need to, close down the account and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Doing that requires, me and Scott have to go down to the bank, so we have to line up our schedules, and so it just might take a couple of weeks before we could do that, and during that time, we, had approved some things and approve those things, but that means we need to.
I think we need to move fast
Yes,
because
we need to
it's
move
possible in the letter it will tell us to cease use of the.
Did Lisa Ketchum get paid?
Yes.
Okay, great.
The other thing is, I know at the last meeting, Claire pretty much requested funds for this event, and we didn't really talk about that. And we could allocate some of the funds we have, if we haven't already, to that event, and I suggest we do.
All right, we should vote on it right now. Tell me the dollar amount, approve it, and I'll write her a check.
I mean, Claire, are those funds, you mentioned $300 to $500, is that still funds that you need for?
I think that would be very helpful. Half Moon Bay doesn't have a ton of money either. And since we have been active participants in this project, I think it just looks a whole lot better if we're contributing something.
How much do you want?
I want $500.
All right, I move that we approve.
Okay, wait,
fi-
before you do, and what
It's-
exactly is the $500 being spent on?
It's being spent on mostly audiovisual things. And
The equipment and the operator for the event is several $1,000s.
yeah,
So you're making a contribution to the like the audio visual bill?
it's audiovisual stuff that's provided by the Oceana Hotel.
Does this require an agendized discussion?
Probably. We should do
I
it
mean-
next time when we do the others.
Okay, you don't want to do
Should we-
vote on it right
No,
now?
I don't think we should do that right now.
Okay.
Should we have a special meeting, just an hour long, just to deal with this? I really think this is an important thing.
Okay, and you would suggest for timing?
I mean, I hate to suggest it, but I don't see any other way, and I really am worried that we're gonna get in a position where we lose the funds we have, and then, that's it.
That's what I've been saying all.
I'm available Wednesday, the 30th for an hour in the evening.
I can do that.
I'll do it.
That's next week?
Yeah.
Is that Halloween?
You think the letter would come before that?
Okay. Yeah, I can do it, I think. Someone might have to call me and say, where are you? Because I might forget, sometimes stuff.
So in terms of future agendas, are we scheduling a special meeting on Wednesday, the 30th at what time?
Okay, before you-
Well, Dan,
Yeah, I just wanted to throw it out there. I'm not gonna be the one to make any kind of recommendations as far as what level or how much memory, but I think it would be appropriate for the MCC to have a updated laptop for the next chair or for some backup, for one that'll hold a charge, but that will, keep up with the Zoom and one or I think this is TCT's laptop, but there's one you needed
So
for.
to his
so-
point, when I'm not on the council, this laptop goes away.
Mhm.
This screen belongs to the council, but several pieces of hardware like the HDMI cables, the extension cord, so I could come up with a list of small equipment in addition to the laptop that we would need.
Yes, can you and Dan confirm on what the hardware needs are?
Sure.
Awesome. And put together that proposal for our discussion on Wednesday, the 30th. 7 o'clock.
I didn't forget yet.
7 PM, we're gonna make it 7.
It'll be a short meeting, right?
Yes, that's literally all we're gonna talk about.
1 hour.
Yes, well, yes.
Maximum.
Let's all come with everything sorted, so we don't have to do a lot of sorting. A very quick discussion.
Now, we do have a question about whether we want to ask PCTV to film the meeting or just take a Zoom,
Forgot that need.
pick a Zoom. I could record it on Zoom, but the remote participation wouldn't be possible. You want me to ask Martin?
For which meeting? Oh, for
Special
the next special meeting.
It can be just like a regular Zoom meeting.
Yeah, it could be a Zoom meeting, that's fine, just record it, it's fine.
Are we still
Is
allowed to
meeting
do?
allowed?
No, I think if
I
it's
think
an
it has to be
official
in person.
MCC meeting, it has to
We
be.
gotta get GCSD to agree that the room is available. We don't have to have it filmed by PCTV, but that's the polite thing to do.
The right thing to do.
Do we pay them?
I think the county pays.
Okay.
We'll figure out the details and then we'll email everybody and to confirm.
Yeah, who's gonna reach out to GCSD?
I am right now.
Okay, great, awesome. So you reach out, you mind reaching out to Marty also?
What else am I good for?
Should, we need to plan all this stuff.
Anybody tell you?
Your hat would have nowhere to sit if it weren't for you.
So one other thing that I heard in all this, and maybe I heard wrong, is that our reports to the county on the money we have spent haven't been sufficient. Is that true? And do we need to flesh that out for what we have spent for this, already spent for this year?
No, I gave them, I sent them a report.
Nobody's ever-
Okay, this looks good.
Yeah, nobody's ever pushed that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then I must have misunderstood. And then the only other thing that I was thinking about when I looked back at that video of the meeting was the whole conversation about a grant. And that grants are for a specific purpose. And the MCC is for a specific purpose. And I looked at the state of California advisory bodies. There are models for advisory bodies all over the map. No two are the same in how they are funded. So I honestly think there's still an argument to be made for more autonomy of this council financially. And maybe at that meeting, maybe we say the meeting's an hour and a half. We think about, and I don't even know if anybody has the appetite for this, but to think about still pushing the envelope on this.
What I would
I say we spend the money and then push.
What I was gonna say is, could you identify 2 or 3 examples of alternative, like specific, so that we could say, here is how they're doing it in Sambon with this council, and they, so it's
So
this
we,
whole
you
best
need,
practices thing.
but you need an action plan. Who is gonna support us? Who is going to say to the controller, we really don't wanna do it the way you want us to?
Why?
Well,
You
first
want-
we have to have evidence that this whole
Yeah,
generally
and
is
so-
not in fact generally accepted, because there are lots of other.
So do you go to Ray and say, hey, listen, will you back us to the controller? Do we go, I mean, you have to have a game plan for this.
Well, I think also Dan made a good point in that, has the council been operating illegally for the last, dozen years? This is a good question. And I think what we need to show is that we have operated within the regulatory, requirements. And that we could continue to do so in a different way. So
I
what it's
think the way to substantiate that is to show other places that are doing it more like how we were doing it.
So
If we can identify some examples of that, then I think we're.
I will
But the-
try.
So the thing is, it's
Thank you.
not, I don't believe it's the money, it's the process. You can still spend money, it's just the process in which you're doing it. Yeah.
Well, this process, yes, but it's still much more restrictive. I mean, in terms of timeline for how long it takes for things to be
Right,
approved.
right, so that's
And we
the
may be
tough part, that's the tough part to do. Hey,
But-
I'm the controller, I wanna do it like this.
But it
You can
also,
have all the money you want, but I wanna account for it in a particular.
but we can't have all the money we want. It also limits our access to funding overall annually. So if we don't spend our $3,000 allocation by the end of the year, it goes back into the pot. And that doesn't even guarantee us that even before the end of the year, they might decide those funds are better used for something else and
Oh,
it
but
goes
no
back
one's
into
given
the
us a
pot.
budget. No one said this is the amount of money you're allowed to spend with the new system, right? No one's ever said that. If we want $9,000 to do something. I don't know if they would say no because they've never asked, right?
Well, I think what the supervisor indicated was that we could make the request to his office and it would come out of his budget if it exceeded the $3,000. That's no guarantee. It's a nice option to have. But I think it's probably unlikely in most circumstances, maybe not all. I mean, am I the only one that feels strongly about this, or if I'm the only one, then I'm ready to drop it. But
No, I mean, I feel as strongly as you do about this, but I don't know. I need to know how to, I need an action plan, like I said. How do you attack this? What's the process of them complaining? You know what I'm saying? I don't wanna spend more than 2 more minutes on this because we're gonna have a special meeting.
Yeah.
But
Does anybody know how long has the budget been $3,000? When was the
Uh,
last time?
Lisa knows.
Lisa knows, yeah. And she sent us an email about it.
We
Um,
have
posting on the website.
It's
I'll
been
try
a-
and look at it. and
It's
see
been
how
at
far
least
back I
like
can go.
13 years and I can,
Because
you know what? Len Erickson's on. Maybe he can tell us how it was before 2011.
And the bank account's not that old. I think the bank account's 8 years old.
Oh,
I'm
That
not
doesn't
positive.
sound right.
Yeah,
No, it's.
that does not sound right.
Well,
There was more than
it
one
used to
bank.
be,
It changed. The bank
Yeah.
account changed.
The only
well,
reason I
the
ask,
name of the bank changed.
Okay.
The building stayed the same.
All right, just for purposes of information, the treasurer's report from July 2012 to 13 shows a contribution of $3,000
Okay.
by the county. So it's at least a dozen years.
okay, so in real terms, like our budget is now like in constant, like whatever dollars, whatever that was, $2012. Our budget is probably like $2,000. So, you know, I think there's a, like, to me, like, I'm not optimistic that we're gonna be able to actually push back against, because ultimately it's controller's call. Like, that's within the purview of his office. Although, to what Greg's points last time, it is an elected office, and maybe we should all think about that in 2026. But so separately from that, you know, my pushback to the Board of Supervisors would be, listen, I think there was a sort of tacit agreement that you only get $3,000, which, let's face it, is money so that you guys can exist, but like not actually do anything. Like, that's what that budget to me says. We want you to exist, but we don't want you to actually do things. So we'll give you a budget that allows you to exist, but doesn't allow you to do things. But the compensation for that is we're not going to make you go through all the hoops that everybody else goes through. You'll have some autonomy with it that other groups, for instance, Ray himself, does not have.
Well, that's
And
not
that-
true. He has a petty cash limit.
Sure. Just a petty cash.
I mean,
but
most organizations, $3,000 is petty cash.
for a county budget, which will next year, I think, be a little over $5 billion, that makes us about 1/2 of 1 millionth of the county's budget, despite being more than 1/2 of 1 millionth of the county's population. But you know, I think there's an argument for, listen, if you're going to make us go through all the formal processes like everybody else, then it would be nice to have a budget that is more consistent with everybody else's, which, by the way, it hasn't even changed in nominal terms in at least 12 years, which in real terms means it's like at best 2/3 of what it was, possibly only half of what it was, depending on what inflation looks like. I can pull those numbers. That's easy.
6/100,000ths of the county budget.
So that's
6/100,000th of a percent.
Yeah, I was going to
of the
say, no,
county
it's less
budget.
than that. Yeah.
So
Yes.
what you're saying is a plan for autonomy.
Yeah.
Using a negotiation technique.
Well, it's a
Well,
plan
it's-
for a purpose. The MCC is established for a particular purpose. And I think what the supervisor was missing in that conversation is that he kept assuming that we could just spend willy-nilly on anything. And he did not recognize the fact that this council was set up for a very specific purpose.
Mhm.
And everything we do is towards that mission. And so I think the argument can be made that that money allocated to us is for this purpose, this mission. And the little expenses that fall under that are inconsequential. I mean, they're not inconsequential, but they fall in line with the specific purpose.
Mhm.
So we ask for $3,000 a year for our mission. And that's the workaround.
You know, and I think we should get $10,000 a year, in all honesty.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's time to, yeah, I mean, I guess we have to kind of see what settles, what shakes out with the process, but like, assuming that we are just gonna be forced to go along with the process that everybody else goes through, then yeah, I think that's like my sort of, where I landed on that is I'll just one day go in front of that board and say,
I mean-
okay, so you're making us grow up and be like a real agency, so give us a real budget
Right. I
to
mean,
accomplish the goal that we are created to serve you for.
yeah, I see Rob is no longer on, but
I'm
you
writing
know,
it now.
Pescadero also similarly
Mhm.
also probably deserves the same. if anything, they're more isolated and more key to servicing their community than we are. So yeah, those are my thoughts, and I just think we need to jump on it quickly and be very thorough in making the case.
Yes, there's two separate things. One is just what are we doing about the money we have right now, which I think is what the meeting next week is about.
And I think we should spend it.
Yes, yeah. And I think there's a longer term.
Dan's idea is great with computers. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yes.
The other thing is, we may have brought this up last meeting, but there may be a time where we have to have a meeting in a larger venue. And if we do, we don't really have the setup of a kind of a one box, amplifier
And a screen. This is GCSD screen.
Yeah, I'm not sure how we haven't, we've never done that in these times. I wouldn't want to lug something that big
Yeah, I don't necessarily
around.
wanna go buy something that size, and then where are we gonna put it? Because right now we don't.
Can I invoke Parkinson's law? The work expands to fill the time available. We're gonna have a special meeting on
Yes,
this.
okay, so.
All right. Can we
So,
move
okay,
on
wait,
to
wait,
future
so
agendas?
yes, so just before, so everybody has homework for next week, which is like, what specifically are we spending this money on? Like, we'll need to see like what amount it's going to be, like that kind of
And we're
thing.
gonna send our thoughts to Kimberly.
Sure.
Okay, Kimberly will be the collector of those ideas and thoughts. And then Kimberly will connect with you maybe early next week.
I have a couple of other potential
Yes,
agenda items.
go ahead.
Do we want to agendize, not for the special meeting, but for our regular meeting, writing a comment on the TDM study, transportation demand management study we just heard?
We should. I don't feel like it.
We should.
I don't want to be one of the three people. I'm happy to contribute the notes I took at this meeting in the public venue to whoever wants to be the author of that, somebody who's well versed in transportation.
Yeah,
Oh, there you go.
I see where this is going. Let's just go straight there. I will do it.
Thank you, Gus.
Okay, and then do we want a letter that we will write after we hear what goes on October 29th at the healthcare hearing? Do we want to write a letter in support of something to somebody on healthcare on the coast? Claire?
Gee, I don't know.
Too soon?
We are official, this group that's putting it together is officially, the big question is, do we want urgent care or do we want an emergency room? And how is that gonna work out? And since the state has stepped in, we've just stepped back and said, we just want to do a really good urgent care. I don't think, what should you say? I think you should say that you support, that the MCC supports urgent care on the coast. But maybe something else will come out of the meeting that needs to be commented on. We'll see.
Provisionally, I'm going to nominate that for a topic. Now, we also are probably only going to have one more meeting in December. Am I wrong?
Yeah, we have the one in November, right? Because the next one would be like the night, like the night before Thanksgiving. I won't be here. I don't know.
Are we gonna have one?
We need 2 meetings in December.
Did you say we need?
Yes, I think we do. I would like to see us select our new members at the last meeting.
Well, that would be the 11th and the 25th. Oops, the 25th there's something going on this day. So what would you suggest for the December meetings, the 11th and the 18th?
Yeah, I guess the 11th and the 18th, right?
Or we could do the 4th and the
November
18th,
or
but that would be a
December?
double change to our
December.
constituency. Well, you can think on that. We don't have to make a decision now.
And our next meeting will be Wednesday, the 13th of November. We will not have one on Wednesday, the 27th of November.
So there'll be a long gap before the next December meeting. And in the past, I can tell you, we had a year. I think it was Lisa who brought this up. We didn't want to go 3 weeks or more without a meeting. So the idea that we would hold a meeting on the 4th of December, that's the third week. That'd be like the most we should go without a meeting. Hold it on the 4th of December and then our regular meeting on the 11th or the 18th. I don't care. You don't need to make up your mind now, but I just want to say that there was a thought registered in previous years that we shouldn't go too long in between meetings.
So
Okay.
what was the November dates?
November is the 13th.
13.
That's the date we're committed to as a regular meeting, but the
Yes.
suggestion is to have one on the 6th. And then we
One
could
on the
decide whether or not we're gonna have it on the 13th or the 20th or whatever.
I would recommend keeping the regular schedule, which is the 2nd and 4th. And I think historically, we've taken Christmas off, just the holiday seasons.
Claire wants a meeting though, to what, remember?
And, but, you know, if Claire's recommending, we have, so. I just
so-
wouldn't,
Definitely.
I think it's
the
important that we don't have a big gap in membership. And if we can at least have our nominees ready to go when we lose our existing council members, I think it makes us look a lot better.
So I think we do a meeting on the 13th of November as planned. We do not do a meeting on Wednesday, the 27th, because it's the day before Thanksgiving. We do a meeting on December 4th to cover whatever sort of normal agenda items that have come up since then. We'll call it a special meeting because it's not the regularly scheduled date, but we'll just deal with like regular agenda items that day. And then the 11th, Wednesday, the 11th, we will deal with new council members and if there's anything else that we gotta deal with.
New
the
officers.
Yeah, new officers.
Yes, we'll have to vote new officers and all that kind of thing.
Okay.
Does that make sense to everybody? Reasonable?
It's a lot of
Yeah.
work.
Oh, I feel like an adjournment coming on.
Okay, all right, 9:17, it's a good one, all right. Awesome, guys. Good work.
All right, give me a minute.